Hey, welcome back to Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions and some live right here on Facebook. Got another user submitted question right out of the Service Autopilot Facebook members group here. I'm going to read it off the screen. Barry says he's looking for some input into route reorganization for when to go for every week mowing. They've had customers quit, sold some new accounts. And he's got some new work coming in. All normal stuff that we all face in our service business, really, as we gain clients and we have attrition through churn or cancellation. His question is, how do you guys go about making the best routes between property size, location, budgeted hours, and et cetera? Is this something you do inside Service Autopilot? So, Barry, with a great question here in the Service Autopilot group, and I want to kind of shed some light how we did that in my seven-figure business, and now help hundreds of businesses each year do this. Inside Service Autopilot. So yes, you could use an Excel sheet, a Google sheet, have double, triple entry, but really the idea is we want to be able to get it inside one software and avoid that multiple system chaos. So Barry, a couple things that you talked about were great is size, location, budgeted hours, and when we're going to route these jobs, if we don't have a budgeted hours and generated or pinned revenue goal for each type of crew in our business, that can literally either accelerate or potentially deteriorate, probably most likely deteriorate our profit margins in that division. So, for instance, if we got a fertilization crew with one technician, you may be running $1,250 to $1,300 a day in annual revenue. So that would be a goal, something you want to stick in like a post-it note or something up the top right-hand corner of your computer when you go to route these jobs. That's what Christine in my office did when she routed waiting list jobs. So in normal fashion, I'm going to open up the screen and show you how I would suggest tackling going into this new season, how to reorganize your routes. There's two different ways of routing inside Service Autopilot, actually three. So I'll talk about that quickly before we dive into actually how to break this down. First one is a one-time job, the particular day. So that is not going to come into play with routing for next year. The next one is a waiting list job. So it needs to be done sometime maybe this month, but not today. Or it's a package job, basically same thing as a reoccurring where that goes. What we're talking about here is really a reoccurring weekly, bi-weekly, every 4 weeks, or custom recurring. That's where this is going to fall into play, whether it's lawn care, home cleaning. So I'm going to show you how we actually tackle this in my seven-figure business. So what I'm going to do is open up the screen here, and what I'm going to recommend is the first step we want to do is going in from stem to stern, go into team and teams, which used to be crews. We want to actually build out a crew. So what we're going to do is go in here and create basically a placeholder crew. So this is going to be our 2023 mowing to be routed or scheduled, however you want to put that in there. And we can do that for any of those reoccurring jobs. So what we're doing is basically creating a placeholder here to get all those jobs in there. And this is something, especially in the Northeast, where for about 3 to 4 weeks, we were recreating these schedules almost on a weekly basis before we actually solidified them. Because it wouldn't be uncommon to have 30, 40, sometimes 60 or 70 new clients come in a 1 week where we have to actually get them caught up and then get them on a schedule. So we want to continue to optimize that and let the customer know that those schedules for the first few weeks may alter. But once you've got those in there, we want to be able to go show in calendar view, and I'm going to select a color. Now that color is going to be the color that is going to show on the map. And then we're going to put the starting address of our shop here. There will be no team assignments, but basically we've got this 2023 mowing to be routed or scheduled. We're going to go to our dispatch board now and pull up a list of all our mowing clients from the previous year and show them on the map. So the idea here is that once we have all of our clients here, we're going to go into Maps Pro, grab our group selection, and literally grab our whole entire allotment of clients here that we have, and basically go in, and then we would go in and assign to our 2023 to be scheduled. And it may not be in here, but in risk of refreshing the screen and losing this, I'm going to just leave it where it's at. But the idea is we've got our 2022 list here from previous years. We'd go in and permanently assign that and hit update. Now, in this test account, I'm not going to go in and manipulate, but that's your first step. Now, once they come in, they're all going to be in that yellow colored pin. So what we would do then is go in and dial in. And ideally, you want to have zones. This is actually the service area where I service in upstate New York. Our zone one was right here. We had a zone two right here, and zone three was this whole area here. And then out on the east side of town, we split it along this highway, two different zones. So we have basically different zones. And the idea is what we did is we took the route as we did it. So 25 to 30 lawns in a residential scenario. We would go in and route two crews end to end. So they would end right next to each other. So if we were all the way out and our shop was out here, we were out on this side of town, about a half hour, 45-minute drive, depending on traffic. This route potentially would start here and the other one would start here and they'd end somewhere in the middle. So if we had to go back out to the area for rain delay, we could send one crew and we could still re-optimize that route that was left over. In addition, if we had breakdowns or any other issues or one crew is running behind, those crews could help each other out. So that was the ability to minimize that non-billable drive time, not having to send a crew out. One of our values there was no crew left behind. So we always work together to help each other with those jobs. So the first thing we want to do is take all of our jobs, assign them to a crew, and I would sign them for a reoccurring job, probably on a Sunday or a Saturday where we're not scheduling any work. Sunday is probably the closest day. Picked that up from one of our deep dive coaches. We used to do Monday, but I think Sunday would be the closest day. And then you kind of chunk them out off that one Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you're doing 5 days a week, Friday. So we're going to get those all in there and drive those in. Second part of the question, if I'm inferring from the Facebook question, is how do we actually go in and make sure we've got the different information there based on commercial, residential, square footage. So we can go into custom fields here. And what I'm going to suggest is you've got a turf square footage column. Under the column, there's going to be something turf square footage if you're tracking it right here. And that would be the turf square footage of those properties. So that's going to be one of the things we want to do. Once we have that, we're going to go into the dispatch board area here. And this may take a while to update just based on the amount of volume of data that's in there. But up near the top here, we want to go in and create a view. And before we do that, we'd go into resources and correct a filter down to this year 2023 list. So that is probably the process I would go in and then chunk them off. So everything we sell from now till March or April, we chunk them in there right before the season starts. We drop them in. Now, second part of the question was, Mike, well, how do we do that to ensure profitability? So early in the video, I talked about our fertilizing crew was about $1,250 to $1,300 a day in annual revenue. So what we want to do is actually build out a crew here based on the number of people on the crew, how many hours we're budgeting a day, the average wage for that mowing crew, the labor burden, overhead recovery, and our profit markup. So we know based on this, our daily labor costs are $852 with a 15 or 20% profit margin built in. Our truck and trailer are costing us $10.10. 10 hours a day. Overhead recovery is 1.25, and we've got our 20% profit margin. So truck and trailer is 152. Mowers on the crew while they're being utilized costs us $73, and our maintenance equipment package, weed whackers, blowers, stick edgers, are all bundled in there. So what we've got is a daily sales goal for this mowing crew needs to be routed for $1,100 here, $1,102. It's costing us $918, and we're budgeting for 20 hours. And based on that data and the profit goals and the overhead recovery, it's costing us $45.90 break even before we make a profit. So in order to get a 20% net margin, we need to be charging $55 an hour. So that's the actual data that you need when we go to take those routes and build them out. What is the projected revenue and budgeted hours? We need to work around those numbers as well. So it's not only that we have routes that are profitable and dense, but we have a non-emotional number of revenue and budget hours that we assign to that particular crew. So once we've got them in on the dispatch board, and we take all those clients here and add them into our holding 2023 mowing bucket, and then right before the season, we take these guys and chunk them out in routes. We want to go back to the equipment calculator here from Simple Growth and take a look at it and say, okay, based on that crew or division, we need to be budgeting or at least routing $1,100 and budgeting 20 man hours. So it's a 10-hour day for two guys. So those are the things we need to do. I'm going to take a quick 3 to 4 minutes to kind of show you what goes into these numbers, just so you can understand how it was actually derived at. So the first thing we did is we looked at our average wage for that division, techs and crew leaders. What is their wage and how many hours are they budgeted for the whole entire season? Upstate New York is going to be around 1,800 hours. So what we've done is said, okay, 5% of my payroll I'm projecting is going to be overtime. So my average wage across all of those employees is $23.88. And we've gone in and figured out our labor burden, which fictitiously in this example is 19%. So we know now what our average wage is and our labor burden across there. Next thing we do is we break down that equipment. So how much is a truck costing us? That $2,500 truck, our GMC or Chevy 2,500, and we've got that down at $7.78, including oil changes, maintenance, repairs, and replacement. We've gone in and grabbed our trailer, built that out, right down to gas, repairs, oil changes, tire, all that's included. Obviously, no gas on that trailer. That's costing us $2.23. And then we've gone into our mowers and machines. So we've got a 60-inch mower here on that crew. That's run us $5.17. And then we'd go into a maintenance package here where that would include the weed whacker, stick edgers, and blowers. That's $2.18. So what we've done is through a budgetary process now, driven all that data in here and not emotionally know we need to charge $1,100 a day in routed work, and we cannot go over 20 budgeted hours. So once we get all those jobs off the mapping system service autopilot, we save them to that bucketed list, we start to chunk them out. We need to start to go in and route them. And then through the navigation area here, we can start to take a look at some of those selected resources and hit go. And that's going to actually give us the idea of how much drive time is there, billable and non-billable, and see how that plays into our budgeted hours and our projected revenue. So those are the things I'm looking at as I'm going into the new year. Take all the accounts, stick them on a holding account, get real with your financials, and go in there, and as well as depending on what kind of overhead recovery model or number you're looking at to get that break even number, make sure you're taking a look at that debt service, those long-term payable notes that are hanging out, those truck loans, equipment loans that you may have. Those are not going to show up on your profit and loss statement, but where they are going to go show up is on your balance sheet. So we do want to make sure that we are accounting for that debt service, because a lot of companies on paper are making money profitably, but their cash flow poor because their debt service is out of whack. So we want to take a look at that as we're putting the schedule together. Final note here is, if you're going into your CRM leads or clients here and you pull up those clients, he mentioned about route density and how do we go in and tackle that. Once you go into the CRM leads, I would highly recommend taking a look in these neighborhoods of your clients and filter that down to your team here or your customers, and be able to go in and take a look at what services they have, and if it's a reoccurring service, so filter it down. But basically go to the map, and once you have that map up, you can click this little guy here. Now it's going to pull up the same dots, but it's a little bit different here. So once we have that mowing route labeled here, and you may want to tag them as a 2023 mowing customer for database segmentation, but we may drive right in here and say, okay, where am I a little light on density, or where do I have a lot of houses and I need to build some more density? So this little block here is pretty dense, but it could definitely get a little better. So if we went into the satellite view, we can go in now and drive right down into the other houses on the street and start to cherry pick these. And by clicking on these houses here and dropping pins on them, as you can see on the left, the addresses will come up. So that's where we can go in and start to build databases of the houses that are near in the neighborhoods where your blue pins are here of your existing clients. Start to build route density. And now's a great time to go out and measure those online and send property specific pricing to them on the envelope as the address lawn mowing customer. So this is how we grew really good density in my company and created some domination in these markets, because we were able to build databases of the existing leads. So not only do we want to schedule the existing and pull the cancels off and the new ones on, we probably want to also go in this time of year and create some route density by building lead lists and sending property specific mailers. So hopefully that was helpful. How to go in and reroute your schedules to minimize that non-billable drive time, create efficiency, and don't be afraid to do that for the first 2 to 4 weeks of the season, as we did in our company. Huge bottom line effect by minimizing that drive time, and then go in through the lead screen and create additional leads by clicking on those houses to build more route density in the light areas in between, or the areas where you're already dense, to continue that density. So we'll see you again at Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook.